Warning: amplifiers have dangerously high voltage that can cause significant harm or death. Do not attempt to service or work inside an amplifier without having the knowledge or skill to do so. Or welcome to part 2 of restoring this 1967 Fender Bandmaster. I'm going to call it 67. The power transformer dates to 69, so that's the only thing I've found in here that dates later than 67. So not entirely sure what to call it, but I think 67 Bandmaster is going to be good. I've been through the process of cleaning and doing all the things that I need to do, and this video is just going to take you through those steps and kind of looking before and after and see what it looks like. And towards the end of the video, we'll get to hear what it sounds like. In my opinion, it sounds great. I put some 606 GE power tubes in there. The ones that it originally came with, these RCAs. The two RCAs were just not matched enough. They were more than 10% apart, and you don't get the noise reduction as you do with matched tubes. Now, there is something to say about slightly mismatched tubes, but I just thought those were a little too mismatched. So these 606 this group tube GEs weren't perfect. They're biased within 1% of each other, and that's really, really nice. So got tremolo function working, got both channels working. Everything sounds good, and this thing is nice. So stick around, watch the process, and for the final part of the video, you'll get to hear a little bit of what it sounds like. Part 3 will be me actually doing more of a proper sound demo of this amp and try to get some samples of what it would sound like playing live. So, all right, guys, see you in the clips. We are on the next day, and I think today what I'm going to do is just, I've done some here, but I think I'm going to just clean up the board. As you can see, it's kind of dusty all over, and it's easy to just use some alcohol and get that cleaned up. So I think what we're going to do is I'm going to clean the whole board, do 1 or 2 passes, and then I think I'm going to replace the power supply capacitors today in the doghouse. So updates coming. I've got the cathode, dual cathode bypass cap removed, 20 microfarad at 25 volts. That's going to be replaced with a 25 at 50 volts, 2 individual ones. And anyways, just got that out. What we got here, this is kind of what I mean by cleaning the board, getting it, some of that, the dust, contaminants and stuff like that off the top of it, because this thing, it can become conductive and whatnot. So we add a little bit of alcohol, just kind of working section by section. And I've got a clean paper towel and just this little small area. Just kind of using my finger. I can use a brush, etc. I'm just, for the video's sake, I'm just using my finger because I'm filming with my other hand. But anyways, just this one little square inch or so, and you can see we're getting a little bit of dust off and whatnot. And it's actually not that bad in that spot. Some spots were a little bit dirtier, but yeah, I'm gonna just kind of cover the rest of the board. I'm halfway across. I may have to kind of do some other stuff in these tighter spaces with like a Q-tip or something like that. But yeah, when this thing's done, it's gonna be nice and clean. Okay, had to call a quick timeout. See this right here? I was coming in to change out this cap right here. It's just the kind of bypass cap for the cathode of this little Roach tremolo. Well, this resistor, once I started removing some solder, decided to poke its head up. Can you see what was wrong here? Let me get a focus here. Straight lead was never put into the eyelet. It was just pushed right on top and soldered in place. That probably hasn't been working very well. So, may have to change this out. I'm gonna get rid of some solder here, see how much of this resistor I can, we'll see how much of this resistor I can kind of scooch over a little bit and get it there. But it's just a simple 100 ohm resistor. It reads fine, but, you know, if I need to replace it with an equal and better working 100 ohm resistor, might as well. Okay, so this capacitor looks good. Looks fine, no issues. We got 25 microfarad, 25 microfarad at 25 volt. Okay, this is gonna read it for us. Let's see what one side is. We have 142, 140 on one side. And then a little bit hard to do this with one hand. $83 microfarad on the other, and it's not touching. It's not touching both, just one. This is probably what, 4 to 5 times, yeah, between 4 to 6 times too much on both ends. That's why we replaced those. There was another one, this one right here. This one's used in the cathode of one of the oscillators for the tremolo. Okay, also 25 microfarad, 25 volt. Okay, let's see what it reads. Nothing. Nothing at all. So, we're going to replace it with something that works. Alright, I'll show you when it's done. Okay, this is just a brief showing of what to expect with the brand new one that it measures out. So we have a 4.7 microfarad, 35 volt. This is just going for the tremolo oscillator. It's to make it where the tremolo knob follows a lot faster and you don't have a delay on the tremolo speed when you adjust the tremolo speed. So, .8 on a 4.7, which is good, perfect, okay? So, this is going in, it's going to work great, and it's going to be an improvement. All right. Hey, so we have replaced bypass caps. We have one here, and the tremolo oscillator, 2 here, 2 there. Sorry about the focus. I've also, once I had these components removed, up in the air, whatever, gave me a chance to clean the board. So, give a clean board to look through. Still haven't gone through the process of powering this thing on. A couple more things. So, right now, these plate resistors are staying. They've drifted pretty close to out of spec. But I'm gonna take care of that another time. I gotta do the power supply board and the negative voltage board. Actually, this half here is for the negative bias for the output tubes, and then this other half here is for the positive HT, B plus, whatever you want to call it, DC. So this and the board in the doghouse, and then we'll get it just about ready to power on. Okay, rock on. Okay, good evening everyone. Just got the bias board pulled. We have a 50 microfarad at probably 25 or 50 volt. Well, probably, let's see here. Where are we at? 50 volts, yep. 50 microfarad at 50 volts. Okay, let's see what it reads. Doing this with one hand. 78.7 to 80. It's jumping all over because I'm trying to do it with one hand, but yep. A little bit out of spec. Almost, 50% over. Not quite 100%, maybe 50, 75% over. So this guy's going to get changed. These diodes are going to get changed with some 1,000 or 1N4007s. It's just going to make the amp more reliable, and we'll never have to even worry about it ever again. So I'm going to check the resistance here at this 470 ohm resistor, and then get the board cleaned up and rewired. So good things are coming soon. Okay, here we are with some work later. Got a clean bias board. Going to populate it with the diodes, a new resistor, and a new capacitor. And this one will be good to go. And the new board, I've still got some cleaning to do now that I've soldered some joints. That'll be tidier once it's all said and done, but we've got the diodes in place, resistor, and the bias capacitor here with the negative bias for the output tubes, 50 microfarad at 100 volt DC. That's going to last for a long time. It's going to be real reliable, and they're all, as you can see, crimped, solid mechanical connections. They're not going to be moving. They're going to be holding steady, working well. Like I said, a little more cleaning to do, and then once we get it back in, we'll rehook the wires that run to different parts of the board and the chassis, and finish up the bias board. So I think that's where I want to call it a night, and we're going to pick this back up fresh in the morning. Nice warm cup of coffee, and change out the bias caps. All right, see you guys. Okay, here we are on another day, getting this Bandmaster fired up, in good working condition. Just doing a final little bit of cleaning. I've got everything that I expected to have to do done, and just took the bottom backer board out from under the main board, and I'm glad I did. All this dirty junk can be conductive or cause issues. You can see kind of spots where maybe flux and whatnot. That's going to get a good cleaning in just a moment, and then it's going to go right back in. So, all right. I'll show it to you when it's done. Okay, 5 minutes later, some of the alcohol is still drying on the board, and you can see these things. These are more like scuffs, previous scuffs on the board, but much better. Been doing some cleaning with a little bit of free time that I have. If you remember the doghouse and how extremely oxidized and yellow it was, well, I've been spending a little bit of time. I think it took about 15 minutes, but I think the little technique I used, some WD-40 and some just really fine polishing steel wool, just to get the top surface of that oxide, just helping it come off, and then cleaning everything off with alcohol, stuff like that. I'm going to pop up a previous photo of how yellow and oxidized it was, and then here is the result. It still has kind of a lovely patina to it. You can see, it's not a clean polished metal, but it got all the oxide off, and it still looks, vintage. So I think that was just what it needed. Just a little scrub, a little WD-40, and then some alcohol to clean it all up. And I'm, super happy with how this turned out. I've got to do the underside of this chassis, or technically, the underside of the chassis. next, and then we'll be getting this thing fired up and playing. So, okay. Okay, let's get a little bit of progress going on this cab. When we initially got it in, the Tolex was coming up, especially here. The bottom was coming up, both sides here, there, and up front from the chassis being pulled in and out a couple of times, started to flare up there. So re-glued all these down, nice and clean, flush. Should hold for another long while. Looks good. Done a little bit of vacuuming and stuff here, but you know, not going to get all the dirt out of there. It's not going to matter so much. One little thing about this amp, kind of get my lighting right here. Looking at the front, with it being kind of let's see here. With it being kind of a darker color, it looked kind of like what you would see on a blackface amp, kind of just a little bit light brown glow to it. But no, actually, this is just kind of some dirt buildup over the time, and it's faded because if you look back here, if I get the light just right, you can see the shine and what the Tolex used to look like. So definitely the cab, original cab here, sorry, not cab, original head shell for this amplifier, just a little dirty on the front. It doesn't look dirty where it looks bad or nasty, in my opinion, but probably could be cleaned out. I think I'll just leave that for if the next owner of this amp, if they want it done, then we can go through that process. But I just kind of want to leave it that way. And so yeah, cab's all good. I've got to still get a replacement screw there. It's holding up pretty well here on the edges. I might clean up a little bit of the rust here. Yeah, I'm going to clean that up just a little bit. That way it doesn't get progressively worse over time. But that's the update on the cab, and we're going to give you an update of the chassis. Take a look. Much better. Here's a before photo of what the amp looked like. And take a look at what it is now. Got all the oxide off except for a few minor areas. I might clean that up. Overall, chassis is looking good. Still has that kind of patina and kind of vintage look to it. You know, doesn't matter when it's in the cabinet. You don't ever see this, but it's a detail that matters to me. Under the face plate and on the backside plate, got it all. Okay, if you can see the RCA jack, a little oxidized. Looks like it's taking a little bit of wear on the inside. It's not bad, but as easy as it is just to replace these, and if anybody ever wants this one back in place, you know, it'll come with the amp. So let's get rid of anything that might be a cause of trouble of intermittent connection, and not have to worry about it. This thing isn't one of those vintage mojo pieces that you really want to attain or retrain. It's just a little RCA jack. So let's put a new one in, and I'll show you when it's done. Okay, and what you should be able to see now is that there is a mechanical connection with this little bitty piece of wire hooking over and clamping down. This will work even if there's no solder. The solder is just going to be there to prevent oxidation of the two metals in that specific area, but otherwise connection is solid, won't ever have issues with it. Okay, and 5 minutes later we have a brand new RCA jack. Good connection to the chassis, fashioned in there tight, and it's going to work perfect. If you don't want to deal with the hassle of having a foot switch, what you can do is take one of these RCA connections and connect the tip here to the outside casing with a wire, and this will make the tremolo work at all times if you bring up the intensity. So if you don't want tremolo, you bring it down to 0, and the tremolo, you won't hear the tremolo. But with this in, at any point, you can just dial that up. You have tremolo, and again, if you don't, you can keep the speed knob wherever you want. You shouldn't hear the tremolo when you're not playing with the intensity knob up or anything like that. So nice little hack. I'll probably need to specify which fender models this will work for, but I believe it will be most of them. Okay, here we are. Moment of truth. Amp's been powered on for a while now. Bias is great. You can see the tremolo roaches going. I do have the kind of faux foot switch in right here, but it's not going to make any tremolo effect until I start turning this knob up and start adjusting whatever. One thing about these, the tremolo effect, it doesn't sound as good whenever there's a lot of light, because there's a resistor in there that reacts to that neon light in there, and the ambient light out here kind of affects it too. So I'm going to cover it up whenever I demo that part, so you can get a kind of idea for it. So anyways, let me set my phone down and we'll give you a little sound out of this thing. I'm playing through my cab that I use with a Warehouse guitar speakers, ET65 and Veteran 30. They're a pretty good combo in my opinion, and yeah, it's gonna sound great. Let me set my phone down and I'll play a couple of sound samples. Neck pickup. So, it's perfect. It's great. Not a thing wrong with that. Let me give you a quick demo of the tremolo. The tremolo effect requires the chassis to be covered to be noticed very well, because they use what's called a roach. Okay, here is an audio sample of the tremolo.